we're being seen by billions of people. So everybody, so, so everybody out there, everybody in the planet, as you're watching this, welcome to this dry run of, we haven't decided the exact name, but utter nonsense just for today. And it's on Not Legal Advice and JR, who's the on the bottom half of the screen. Although I don't know when, if you're looking at this, if you're on the bottom half, I don't know.
No,
But
you're on the
if you're on
bottom.
the
You're on
bottom,
the bottom. Yeah.
oh, I'm on the bottom. You're seeing me on the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm seeing you on the bottom. Okay,
So
whatever,
we don't know what position
whatever.
we're in, but we're here.
We do not. We do not. But for all those billions of people watching out there, just comment. Let us know if we're on the top or the bottom. Uh, for whatever it's worth. Oh, we got
Hey,
somebody.
somebody just chimed in. Look at that. Welcome, David
David.
Wu.
That's
Welcome.
that. He's our initial commenter. So you describe what you think this is going to be.
I thought this would be just a kind of a test run. You know, you and I are pretty goofy guys. We get all serious on the spaces when we're talking about MMTLP and processes and procedures. But, you know, I mean, with Mark's brief coming out, you and I both kind of have this standing, not to Monday morning quarterback. I mean, I know we picked apart FINRA's brief. I just thought it would be cool to see what the feedback would be, to see if, you know, a lot of people chimed in and wanted to hear what you and I had to say. I mean, if it's a success, great. If not, hey, we gave it a shot. I mean, we're old guys. This is not our technology, so
Yeah, yeah. We figured also worst case scenario, we just have fun with it. And if it was
exactly.
just nonsense, then so be it. And what we kind of decided, so you might as well be upfront what we decided. We were gonna like prepare before we went on.
Right.
So I was gonna send like questions or like topics to JR or vice versa. And what, by the way, do you want to give your real name?
Yeah. You know, it's time. I mean, I don't think I'd make the announcement on a space call, but if people want to look over and see, my name is Brian Garman. Most of you now know that I'm from Hershey, Pennsylvania. I've met a couple of the guys in the community already. I'm a 2004 graduate of Widener University, hence Widener 2004. I'm pretty active on both Reddit and Twitter as Widener 2004. Just it's stuff. You know, I was bored on a beach, and that's what I went with. So it's stuck, and here we are. You know.
And you have you have interest in securities, right? So you dabble in the stock market.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of, you know, I got on Reddit. I got on Reddit. Obviously, I was at the beach and bored, and I had been hearing about this kind of social media thing that was all encompassing. And I
Right.
initially went on Reddit looking for intermittent fasting information because at the time I wanted to intermittent fast.
Oh,
And
that's funny.
one of the very first subreddits after I was on for maybe 2 or 3 hours, one of the very first things that popped up as a recommended subreddit was Wall Street Bets in July of
Oh,
2019. And so I started following Wall Street Bets and reading the posts. And, you know, fast forward to January 2021 when Wall Street Bets exploded. Here I am.
it's funny but it caught my attention. So this is how it's going to go. So you were talking about intermittent fasting. So
Sure.
I follow some guy on YouTube. His name is Caddy. He lives in India.
Yeah.
Really smart dude. Does just straight analysis. So I like him. He was in LA. So I saw him yesterday, and as I'm sitting there talking to him, he's telling me that he does every day. He intermittent. I didn't understand that this what it meant. He eats one meal
Yep.
at night, and that's it. And that's
Yeah.
his standard. That's his standard. That's every day.
Yeah. Well, I got into it for two reasons. Number one, I needed to lose weight. And ironically, I'm going back today. I just started my fast at 5 o'clock. So I won't eat tomorrow. I won't eat and for 23 hours. I'll eat my first meal tomorrow at 4:30. But I started it because I wanted to lose weight. But my father was diabetic, and I didn't
Oh,
realize it when I started intermittent fasting. But it's huge for controlling your blood sugar. And over the
Makes
last
sense.
5-6 years, I've come to the realization that I can control my blood sugar with intermittent fasting. Now, I'm not diabetic, but I'm pre-diabetic, and I'm telling you, my numbers, boom, they just line up. I go in, the doctor's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Well, I'm fasting. That's it. And when I eat dinner, man, I eat what I want as long as I keep my calories at 2,000,
Right.
2,300. Doesn't
And
matter.
you
My
don't get
blood sugar's fine.
you don't get hungry at any point before dinner.
What's that?
You don't get hungry at any point
The
before
first
dinner.
the first 3-4 days. Tomorrow I will be hungry about noontime, and then I'll it'll be a struggle from noon until 4:30. That'll be like that Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe Thursday, but by Friday it'll be a piece of cake. By
Well,
Friday I'll be
I
like,
jotted that. We set this up in like 10 minutes, right? I sent you a we've been
yes,
talking about it for a while, and then
yes,
today I just kind of like threw it on you. So
yeah.
I didn't see any of the topics we were going to discuss, and I just I was in my car. I sat there for like 60 seconds, and I came up with a list of like 11 things, and you were talking about what you eat. So one of the questions I was going to ask was your least favorite meat.
My least favorite meat is liver. My mother and father loved liver and onions. It is the most
You
foul
consider that a meat?
food.
Isn't that an organ? Do you
I,
consider that
I,
meat?
I mean,
I know it's
look, it's red and
protein.
it bleeds, so it's a meat.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything to say about MMTLP, by the way, while we're
Uh,
here?
I mean, not really. I was on a space yesterday just to give a public service announcement about the copycat accounts that were going around because we weren't
Oh,
really
yeah.
sure what they were for. Well, it turned out someone used the copycat account of mine, and they were asking the person to help with trading and to join some kind of
Right.
stock group. So, as much as I don't like that, I certainly feel better because that I don't, it doesn't fit the narrative of a conspiracy theory. It's just a bunch of, pardon my French, assholes trying to dig money out of desperate people. So,
Yeah, I think that they hit me too. I mean, they probably just looked and went down the list and did it. And they use like a very minor deviation, I'm sure, from what
yeah,
your handle is. Yeah.
yeah, they add an R in. I mean, if you go to my profile on Twitter, I put it right in my edit or my profile. Do not, Widener is a fake account, and it tagged him, so he knows I put it up there. But Murdoch was telling me he thinks it's an AI program that mimics your account. So every time you make a change, the AI picks it up like an hour later. But they haven't picked
I
up the
see.
latest change, so I think they've pretty much gotten discouraged. So we'll see.
Well, I know MMTLP people would believe that it would be targeted to kind of interfere somehow with
Yeah,
what was going on. But you're saying it was just a straight con. They were just trying to
yeah.
sell or yeah.
Based on the two comments that because two individuals posted that I dinged them, and I commented back, well, what did they say? And he said, oh, it was they were asking me to join some trading group or to help with trading or something like that. So yeah, I feel better about it, and I'm going to continue to say on Spaces, hey guys, look, there's these fake accounts out there. This is what they're doing. Just everybody needs to be careful. The last thing I want to see is somebody get snooped or duped into giving their money away for something
Yeah,
stupid like that. So
yeah, yeah, that would suck. And
exactly.
for me, I have not everybody does, but for me, I have a check mark. So my fake did not. And that was like the easiest way of detecting it. But I know
Right.
everybody does not. So it goes on. I follow a lot of, we talked about a lot of this stuff off. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos, and over time, I have come to understand how many of them are full of poop
Oh yeah.
and not really accurate. And it often occurs with securities that are more less. It's not Google. Let's just say it's not Google. It's
Right. Right.
something that's much speculative. So I watched this guy, and I made a video about Mullen because I don't know if you follow
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
but
I mean, I
it's a
follow
soap
what's on
opera.
Twitter, but that's it.
Yeah, yeah, it's a soap opera. There's a CEO. It's an interesting story. Being from the MMTLP community, it's an interesting story. So they
Right.
have a
Right.
CEO. So it's basically an commercial EV business,
Right. Right.
theoretically.
Yep.
The CEO comes from the music industry. So he has no background in
Oh,
EVs.
that's
They've
great.
really, yeah, it's a good start. He apparently he's been involved in 5 prior companies, and they all failed. Not a good sign,
Not
but
not a
okay,
good
the sixth
track
one,
record.
no, 6th one could have been a charm, but okay.
Right.
And Mullen's been targeted. So Mullen's been targeted with shorts too, and I guess there's an assumption there's also,
Right.
and I know that Ham the short killer. I'm sure you know who that is.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
apparently went to this guy, the CEO, and I don't know if this is true, but that's what I heard. He went to him and explained what's going on, ways of dealing with it,
Right. Right.
and the response was he reverse split.
Yeah.
And so I don't know because I don't follow Ham carefully, but I know enough to say that when you reverse split, that's basically you're done.
Yeah.
It's the start of the end. And so these people, though, and I get to that position. If you're all in Mullen, it's tough to acknowledge that it's a disaster and you're going to lose all your money. So
Yeah.
really,
It
because
is. It's really
I can
tough.
understand that position. So they got this guy, David is his name, is the CEO, and they have this other guy who brings this like miraculous technology to them, and he starts making statements about so, and they have some kind of contractual relationship, but I don't know what it is. Although at the time they talked about it, I didn't know what it was. So they
Right.
referred to this agreement between David and the other guy's name is Lawrence. That's the other guy. So they talk about this agreement, but nobody even looks at the agreement. Nobody, they just say there's a deal. And Lawrence starts talking about he has deals and with like Saudi Arabia and UAE, and it's big numbers. So like
Yeah. Yeah.
Mullen, so far Mullen's total income, I think, is that the big goose egg,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like the Saudi Arabia deal is like 5 billion. So that would impact the stock price a little bit.
Just a little.
But what happens is Lawrence comes up with some agreement and he starts talking about these deals that are done. He speaks about disclosure,
Right.
warning,
Right.
whatever. David basically says nothing, then apparently sends a cease and desist, and then after the fact, finally comes out and kind of puts a little shade on it. But
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
also diluting. He's diluting the stock. They're selling shares,
Yeah.
and the the higher the stock price, the more they raise, and the less he'd be interested in kind of creating this huge wave that this guy's lying and they have no
Right.
upside. But the followers are so interested in believing both David and Lawrence. By the way, Lawrence apparently, just to add a little spice to this, it might have caused you a little concern. Like 20 years ago, apparently he was convicted of securities fraud.
Of course. Wouldn't be a
Yeah.
complete
So,
story if you didn't throw that in there, right?
and maybe, yeah. And I think his story, and it may be true. It wasn't really him. It was like his friends. He was like with a group and he wasn't really him. Okay.
Right.
But interesting, an interesting whatever. I think he went to prison. So it wasn't like, it was like
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
harm, no foul. But he's making these disclosures, and Mullen is a well-known. It's not like it's a well-known whatever stock. It's not like it's something that you've never heard of.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, this guy's making like he's committing securities fraud on YouTube right in front of me. And the other guy, my opinion, not legal advice, just kind of my thought as I was saying it. And the other guy, David, is not saying anything,
Yeah.
even though he knows it's false. I was perplexed.
Yeah.
So there's some YouTubers who follow those people, and they give that this is not financial advice, but you better trust me. It's kind of
Right.
that.
Right.
And guys has interviewed both of these people, and I saw today he came out with another channel, some different channel, and the tagline was 3 stocks that are going to squeeze,
Right.
short
Right.
squeeze. That's the tagline. I was interested because I'm a little annoyed at this guy already.
Right.
So I
Right.
listened to 3. First one, he does whatever. He does a pitch. Second one, he starts off. I've never seen stock before.
Right, right.
That's his, and he's promoting that as a short squeeze candidate. I was, whatever.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
taken.
It's one of those.
People, that's one.
It's one of those conversations where you're taking notes. It's like that scene in The Office where the HR guy has the notebook and Michael looks at him and says, "What are you taking notes for?" And he's like, "I'm taking notes for the deposition." Long before the lawsuit's ever out there. So
Somebody just asked us about if I don't know if, have you seen the comments?
I saw it, but it flashed gone. It's gone already.
Yeah,
Well,
it was something about Mark wins or loses about the public being able to see the blue sheets.
I mean, look, no matter who wins or loses, they're going to appeal. And
Yeah.
what did we talk about the other day? If Mark wins, FINRA would likely file an appeal for a stay immediately, so that they didn't have to turn them over. Whether that's granted or not would be I forget that.
Because of,
yeah. Go ahead.
because of the nature of the information, if they ask for a stay, probably granted. But I don't know. I'm speculating, but I would think probably.
Yeah, I mean, we can sit here and speculate all day, but at some point, Mark will be back on Spaces after oral arguments and can answer those questions. You and I both know it's flip a coin. I can say, oh, it's a loser. You can say, oh, it's a winner, and who knows what the judge is going to do. So
yeah, for us, it's pure guesswork. For Mark, he's involved and
right.
he knows. I know it's funny because I mean, not funny, but I appreciate it. Somebody was asking or put on Twitter, they were wondering if in Tennessee there was such a a pre-litigation discovery
Right.
statute. Like in California, there's not. So,
Right.
because if there was, I would have tried because I tried in the federal court anyway. And they sent. It's just interesting how it works, and I can see how at times. So somebody posted. And
Right.
they were, obviously they did work, and they posted the statute, the Tennessee statute. And they thought, because it referred to discovery, and that was pre-litigation discovery.
Yes.
What the statute was just, if you don't comply with the discovery request, or you don't appear at a deposition, or don't answer a question, then you're right to make a motion to compel. So it obviously didn't apply to pre-litigation discovery.
Right.
I don't know if in Tennessee, maybe there is, but I didn't see anything.
Right. Well, 2 points. I had gotten a couple of DMs that were the same. Someone had DM'd me and said, "Is this the pre-discovery statute in X, Y, and Z?" And I was like, "No, it's it's talking about the process of discovery, not pre-discovery." But the other, and you and I talk about this all the time. I'm gonna poke a little fun at Big JR. Love him to death. He is a great source for the community, but a lot of people read just one little blurb of a larger statute that's, 5, 6 different sections with subsections, and they're looking at it and reading it and think a certain context, but you got to read top to bottom. You can't pluck section 402 AB3 out of the statute and say, yes, this is it. I found the golden egg, because it's not the way it works. So I get a lot of those. But the other thing I was thinking about these pre-discovery petitions, because someone had asked me if their state had one, and I was like, I don't know. I'm not researching your state, but correct me if I'm wrong. The state can have a pre-discovery statute, but the court still needs to have jurisdiction over FINRA. So if FINRA doesn't have an office in that state, that pre-discovery statute isn't going to do any good, because you're filing a pre-discovery statute in a state court, not the federal court. Correct?
Yeah, I guess the issue. Yeah, I guess the only issue would be if whoever the plaintiff is in the case, if they're in a state, like if I'm in California, let's say FINRA didn't have an office in California, but they were involved in my transaction, then maybe the court still might have jurisdiction over them, even though they didn't have a physical office or whatever.
Right.
They obviously do office in California.
Right.
Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, and somebody I saw comment and I'm going to answer it this way. So somebody was asking again if the judge denied Mark's. Well, I'm going to answer it this way. The question was, grants his petition, will it be public? And I'm taking the opposite of what the question was, because the answer is going to be the same. We have
Right.
no idea what conditions the court will put on the release of the information,
Right.
even if it grants. It may
Right.
say, say free, anybody can look at it, or only Mark can look at it. And
Right.
there's a vast, there's quite a distance between that. And we
Right.
really don't. I don't think even Mark knows. And, maybe the judge doesn't even know yet. I mean,
Yeah.
the judge may not have read all the papers, may not have
Yeah.
considered everything.
Yeah.
Be a decided factor. And, for a lot of this stuff, I know like the community often, and a lot of people, when a lawyer comes in, they look for certainty. And really, if the lawyer is honest, really, there
Right.
should be a lot of ambiguity, because
Yeah.
most times we're just kind of guessing.
Yeah.
Educated.
Think about every time a lawyer gets asked a question, the first two words are, "It depends." I mean, that's the
Yeah.
reality. It really does. I mean, one thing I'm 110% certain of is if Mark does win, there will be no line in the ruling that says, "Throw this out to the entire world for the entire world to see." It just
Yeah.
there's going to be some type of limitations on it. And in the alternative, Mark presented multiple options for the judge.
Right.
I mean, I forget what
Right.
they are off the top of my head. So
Right.
it really is just, it's going to be up to the judge, and really it's going to be anyone's guess. You're not going to know until the order comes out or the opinion comes out.
Right.
So
He asked, one of his alternatives was like an in-camera inspection. And for those out there who don't specialize in cameras, because Kodak is, that just means that in private and kind of looks and makes a determination.
right.
So he offered that, and when I filed mine, because I filed it, because I didn't know, I figured if I was going to lose in federal court, I might as well seek whatever I could, and if I was going to win, then I had already made. So I filed a motion for expedited discovery too, and I gave the judge three options. One was, I said in camera, make it in camera. One was, complete redaction other than X, and then three was, just throw it to me and whatever. But I would expect, like in other matters that I've had where confidential information was at issue, it was not freely disseminated.
Right.
So there were restrictions on how it was disseminated.
Right.
I would just expect the same for, this kind of information.
Well, and you don't. I mean, I'm speculating. You don't know this, but I was a little surprised that Finner's brief didn't say something along those lines. Where if you determine to rule in petitioner's favor, we ask for X, Y, and Z. But they could still potentially do that.
Yeah, yeah. I would expect them. Yeah, you're right. And I fight with that a lot of times too, because you worry when you give the judge the option,
exactly,
whether it weakens your position. So that's something that I fight over that.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, I want to give the judge options. On the other hand, I really don't.
Right.
I want the judge to find one particular avenue. Right. And I had a case, I had a trial. It's now just concluded. It was I represented a church in inner city LA, and there was some lien, like 18 years old, that was secured through fraud, but whatever. And interest ended up being a big issue.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you calculate interest in this scenario was not easy. It wasn't easy. You had to be able to figure out what the liability was, and then you could start the meter running.
Right.
And there were 4 or 5 different periods of time where you arguably could start the meter. And I did. I went through each one and kind of dismissed each one. And the judge ended up picking the one I wanted him to pick up, which was the very last one, the shortest clock, and it ended up. But I worry about that. And so maybe that's why FINRA didn't reference that, because they didn't want to give the judge any idea.
Right.
But an oral argument, when they have their oral argument,
Yep.
they could certainly say, well, when the judge, at the end, if the judge says, okay, either the judge rules,
Right.
on the bench, or says, thank you, I'm going to take it under submission and whatever.
Right.
And at that point in time, FINRA lawyer says, yeah, and by the way, Your Honor, if you're going to rule in favor of like last thing like that.
Hold on, one more thing, Judge. Just in case, if you decide to rule in his favor, this is how we want to give it away. So
Yes.
I mean,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's anyone's guess. You just don't know how the judge is going to decide.
I have found, because since COVID, I've done, other than like I had a trial, I had to go in. So the judge wouldn't let us, although they did trials on whatever the court system was. So I'm sitting in my office, somebody else is sitting in their office. It's pretty bizarre.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
But that's nerve wracking. I mean, well, let me just premise that. I've never, as a licensed attorney, I've never stepped foot in a courtroom or represented someone in front of a judge. But when I was in law school, I was actually part of the Department of Justice of the state of Delaware, and in Delaware, a second-year law student can get sworn in and prosecute cases for the prosecutor's office in that given county. Nice. And so I got sworn in Sussex County, Delaware, and my one and only trial. I was in family court, which dealt with all the teens, and I prosecuted and convicted a 16-year-old of stealing 19 pair of thong underwear from Rue 21. I don't know why she didn't take the plea deal, because the plea deal was nothing more than 6 months community service, which was standard pleas for teenagers convicted of theft. But she fought it. She wanted to plead not guilty. Well, they had a video counting the underwear as they were pulling them. Hell, they had the tags on. I mean, it was in the parking lot. She got caught. She got convicted. She had to do 6 months community service, and I think she had like a $300 fine. But I will tell you, that was nerve-wracking. I was nervous. I had to make sure I had my notes. You got a state jurisdiction, the court's authority, whole 9 yards. But yeah.
Mimi, just to answer, Mimi, the name of this will answer your question. The name of the stream is Utter Nonsense. Okay. All right.
That's about what it is. Did you put this out to the MMTLP community? I'm curious.
You know what? I did not. This was like closed, so nobody has notice of that, because I figured we were.
Exactly. Good.
I was going to say is I've put out a video on this, but I told you, like, the first time I was in court, uncontrollable client, no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
No idea. Zero idea. Your terror, that was like to the 10th degree.
Yeah.
It also wasn't a simple proceeding. It was like a complex commercial real estate injunction. Never done it. And the guy was uncontrollable, and it was like 150 attorneys in his courtroom, because that's how they used to do it. And I was 50th on the calendar, and I was hoping to watch everybody else. My co-counsel asked for priority, and we go up number one. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm like out of my mind nervous.
Yeah.
I got that, like, you get that haze, like that adrenaline rush, and you're like dizzy, almost dizzy. You don't even know where you are. And I didn't know what to do with my hands. I stuck them in my pants. And the first thing the judge says, get your hands out of your pants. That's my start of my legal career. What I was going to say about like the Zoom stuff was I find it really liberating. So if I'm sitting in my office, I've determined this. If I'm sitting in my office, I can make arguments that I could never make.
You're like pulling them out of the sky, connecting them, making sense out of them.
Yeah,
you get in front of a judge, you're like...
Well, it's not just that. They have more of an ability to influence you if you're in front of them. Just by physical looks. I mean, the judge is looking at you and he's giving you like, like you're full of it. But when I'm not, I definitely argue things I would never argue in front of a. And I'm also like, sometimes I'm in my pajamas, so I can be in my pajamas, whatever. And I don't wear a tie, so I just
Yeah.
shoot my like from the neck up. That's all you see me, and I'm wearing pajama bottoms,
Oh
and
crap.
yeah, it's pretty funny.
So
So that's I don't know.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, help
When I
yourself.
was in law school, I it was me and another person, and we had made it to the championship of. So Widener had two campuses at the time, Harrisburg and Delaware, and they would do a massive moot court competition. And the year that I was a third year and on the team, it was in Harrisburg, and the judges for the moot court, the championship, were three of the Pennsylvania State Supreme Court justices. And me and the other individual on my team made it to the championship. Now we ultimately lost, but oh man, I'll tell you, talk about nerve wracking. Three Supreme Court justices. We're little old law students. I can remember my palms were soaked with sweat. So, but I was at a podium, so I kind of had my hands there. But I'm very animated, anyways. But I won't share what the argument is. But you and I'll talk about it privately because it's kind of funny. And
Okay.
the professor that invited them afterwards had come up to me and said, "Yeah, they all three fell on the other side of the issue. You had no chance." I was like, "What the hell did you bring them for then?" So
Ironically, in law school, I got a dog from a kennel, and I was actually in mutt court.
mutt court.
Just yeah, just that. That's my style of sense of humor. By the way, how many bones have you broken?
How many bones have I broken? Well, I broke my nose, my collarbone, my ankle. I broke my toe. My nose was the worst. I got hit with a fly ball in baseball. I was in fifth grade, and it was
Oh,
so bad. It was so bad that they had to do reconstructive surgery on my nose. I mean, my nose was smashed.
oh
My
wow.
eyes. It was 4 days after it had happened. My eyes were starting to split because my nose was swelling up so bad. And
Wow.
it didn't really bother me for many years, but as I've gotten older, I can tell that something's not right in my sinuses. But I mean, there's nothing they can do.
Didn't
Uh,
didn't someone train you to catch the ball with your glove as opposed to your nose?
I looked up, the sun caught my eye, and the next thing I know, I was on the ground, and somebody's like, Coach, he's bleeding." But
Oh,
the
oh.
funny thing is, my collarbone was the most painful. When I broke my collar, I was in third grade when I broke my collarbone. Those clavicle restraints, when they put those things on and they tear your shoulders back to set the bone, oh, that's awful. So,
One of my
busy Brands is on.
nice. One of my broken fingers, and I broke my hand. That's where Borg hand comes from. I
Ah,
got something. Can't tell you what it was. Wasn't a human being. Got mad at something. I took a swing, hit the top of a fence. I said at the time, I think I just broke my hand. I walked in quietly. I told my wife, I just broke my hand in that kind of voice, and I shattered it. So
yeah.
they had to put a fixator in. I had like metal popping
Oh,
out.
yeah.
At the time in Star Trek, they were the Borg, and the Borg
Yeah.
were half human and half machine, and it
Yeah.
looked like they had that. So that's where Borghand came from.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
of my
I'm a
names.
huge. What's that?
That's one of my names.
That Borghand. You got it.
Yeah,
When I tweet you on Twitter, hey Borghand.
yeah. Actually, I'm on a one of the persons who commented early, Mimi. We're on a live stream, I think, on Fridays,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so on that, I just make up names. So I'm Bob, Robert, whatever. I get assigned new names.
Well, speaking of Star Trek and Borg, so in January, like January 2019, right before COVID, okay, uh, the Reading Theater, which is kind of an old style theater, had William Shatner there as a
Oh,
guest, and they replayed Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan on the movie screen. Like, and it was awesome. I took my son, we watched it, and we were so like stoked over this viewing of Star Trek 2, and Shatner was back there. We were like, you know what? We're gonna pay. We're gonna meet Shatner. Might as well. The line was like 200 deep. So we got in line, we got our tickets, and you mosey on up there. And the line now, I'm not shitting you. We were 200 deep, but the line is moving like that. I'm like, boy, this is great. You know, I'm 200 deep. We're just moving right along. We get up there, and I start to see why we're moving along. They got like handlers. They got two handlers on this side, two handlers on that side. They usher you in, you sit down, they snap a picture, they right out the door, man. You're not even with Shatner for more than 2 seconds. So I was a little pissed. But got my picture with William Shatner. So
Well, you know that they got everybody through in warp speed.
yeah, really, they did. Well, you know, he
Yeah.
never even looked at us. He was basically like, hi, sit down, smile, picture, gone. You don't want to know what I paid for that.
Well, so I'll connect it to me. So I grew up in West LA, right next to a 20th Century Fox Studios. So it was on the block I was in. It was a closed off block, and he used to film
Right.
on my street. And there was a park, and next to the park, you know who lived there?
No.
William Shatner.
Oh,
William
yeah,
Shatner.
nice.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
just to kind of like, let me tie it all together. I'm going to tie it all together now. In law school, one of the people who was in law school with me.
Ah, nice. Yeah.
A law degree. So we
Yeah.
tied it all together.
Yeah. Interesting. See, aren't you glad we decided not to do a script? Who knew, right? So
Yeah.
I saw busy pop up. Busy.
Yeah,
We are not talking about MMTLP, just so you know.
Yeah. Well, we did for
we
like
were on it for
seconds.
a hot second.
It was very brief. Yeah, I figured, we'd give it a shot, and I didn't want to invite anybody. And if anybody, I don't even know how they find out how they.
I have no clue.
Busy friends. Okay.
If we see the number of participants jump up, we know it was him, right?
Yeah, well, I have figured out. I have some kind of control panel I could see, but I can't see. So whatever. Yeah, just up front. I tried, and we'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
I'm trying on my computer, and I was an utter failure. So we ended up on the phone because I could include JR that way.
Yeah.
I couldn't include JR on the computer.
Yeah.
I blame YouTube. I blame YouTube for that.
Well, it's working. I mean, it's working fine for me. I can see the number of participants. I can see the comments pop up, but they don't stay very long. And if I don't glance down quick, they're gone. So yeah, but I don't really need to see the comments. I mean, you see them, so.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you know what? This is different because we have to respond, as we do this, because this is our test run.
Yeah,
I'm having fun, so we'll do it again. Yeah, but I noticed when I did the live stream, I tell you how to do the live stream. So there's a comment section, and there might be occasionally there's over 1,000 people in there.
Oh wow!
So if I read the comments, and they're me.
She just said you wrote that you were putting out a video, so I came looking and saw it was live.
Look at them. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, that's wonderful. Yeah, but it's distracting, and I like on those live streams, and I have that software. I just haven't figured out how to use it again. And we'll see by 2027. Maybe I'll figure it out. But in there's an internal comment section also.
Yeah.
So you and I comment to each other.
Okay. Got it.
It's fun. It's fun to do.
Yeah.
It's fun to do.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll get a chance.
The technology is amazing. I mean, here we are. The entire world can see this if they so choose. It blows your mind, right? It just blows your mind.
Yeah, no, we're up to 4.7 billion now. That's the total.
Is that it? All right.
All right. So I asked you about Broken Bones. How many stitches?
Well, I had three staples in my head last September. I had knee surgery, so I had like 7, 8 stitches there. Then I had knee surgery on the other knee. I had like 7, 8 stitches there. That's about it. I really haven't cut myself that I had gotten stitches. The staples I had in the back of my head was because I passed out one night. I don't know what I just don't know. That's that vena vasal they call it, or vasal vagal, whatever it is. I literally fell over on a concrete, an asphalt. The doctor was like, "Man, you're lucky you didn't get a concussion." I mean, all I had was three staples, but so that's about it. I'm not really injury prone, even though now I'll probably slip and fall and break a bone going up the steps.
Staples is good, but I prefer Walmart myself. That's not legal advice, by the way. Not legal advice. I I I had a couple occasions where so I have a seizure disorder.
Okay.
But so I've had two seizures in my life. I had one in 1972 watching Howard Cosell, and that might induce a seizure in a lot of people.
3/4 of the people, I'd be willing to bet 45 of the people that are watching this have no idea who Howard Cosell is.
They don't. That was funny. I tell you, I met with the guy Caddy yesterday, who I mentioned, and I was referring to somebody, and and it was somebody famous. I don't remember who it was, but somebody famous in my era. And I looked at him. He had no idea what I was talking about, and I explained to him, one day you're going to be in that same position where somebody who's like incredibly famous to you, the young guy has no idea who you're talking about.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, I'm sitting here, I got a Metallica t shirt on, but, I grew up with Metallica. And you think about, you know, them now is like when I was a kid thinking of Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin, those are old guys, and it's funny, that circle of life.
Okay. I in again. So the guy's live stream I'm on, along with Mimi, his name is Farzad Misbahi. I'll ask you to spell that in about 5 minutes. And he was a Tesla employee, and smart guy. I think he was in logistics. That was his deal, and he was there at the right time. So he literally,
Right.
because he had stock and the stock went, so he retired. And he's about. That was the part I can't tell. To me, he looks like he's, I don't know, 38, but I
Yeah.
don't know how old he is. And that's like a skill you lose as you get older. Everybody looks so young to you. And
Yeah.
it's really funny. I used to hear like my parents or whatever, they would refer to some guy who's like 90 as a kid, you know, because to them, however, it looked that way. But to me as a kid, I didn't get it. And now
Yeah.
I do. And it's really funny how much change you can have really in a short amount of time.
Oh,
So
yeah.
something that like, I'm trying to think, what would that be? Let's say Google. You think Google's going to be around forever. What happens in like 20 years? There's no more Google.
Yeah.
You think that kind of thing lasts forever, but they
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. Well, think about Yahoo. I mean, Yahoo's the perfect example. When the internet came to be, Yahoo, that was it, man. Everybody was on Yahoo. It was all over the place. That and AOL, they're gone. I mean,
Yeah.
who the hell uses AOL anymore?
Thank you, Mimi. Thank you.
Me.
I agree. Although there is somebody who's related to me, a cousin. My parents were Holocaust.
Yeah. 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 Well, yeah.
Call me like a young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And he would see it that way. That's the funny part. Is it
yeah.
appears that way to you?
Well, you think about I can remember being a kid and my dad, complaining it was tough to get out of bed and be like, what do you mean it's tough to get out of bed? How the hell is that? How is it hard to get out of bed? Yeah. Now at age 50, I know exactly what he was talking about. You get out, your
Yeah.
feet and your knees are killing you and you're like, oh my God, good Lord. So,
Yeah, and it's insidious because it creeps up on you, and you adjust to it, so you develop like a baseline.
Yeah,
a baseline of what you feel like. And as long as you stay in the baseline, it's okay. It's when you deviate from that baseline.
exactly.
But it's really interesting how it kind of creep up on you.
Yeah, it really
But
does.
like over time, since I'm a Tesla guy also, and Tesla and Elon Musk with Neuralink and the ability maybe to intervene neurologically, maybe that might relate to pain control too.
Yeah,
Besides, like, I think most of those things are for like people that are paralyzed, can't walk, and they're trying to enable those kind of things. But ultimately, it would be nice. Crispy Chicken, I like that name. It would be nice if it could like make people's life more comfortable.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's the thing. I bitch too about my knees and my
Oh yeah,
back, whatever. Yeah.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
I'm the same way.
What's your favorite place to vacation?
The beach. I'm a beach and ocean guy. I love the smell of salt water. I always feel like I can breathe better at the beach. I love warm sand and I love the ocean. It's my happy place. In fact, I'll give a shout out. The best kept secret on the East Coast is the Outer Banks of North Carolina. It's absolutely beautiful. The southern part of the Outer Banks, you could have a beach as big as a football field, and the closest person to you, if you're on the 50-yard line, is in the end zone. I mean, basically have the
That's
whole
nice.
beach to yourself. It's awesome.
Can you
And in
drive?
August,
Can you
yeah,
drive?
we drive. It depends on traffic, but it can be anywhere between an 8 to 10 hour drive,
Oh,
but it's worth it.
I've never been. Yeah, I've never been there. It sounds really nice. I guess they get hurricanes occasionally. That's
Yeah,
kind of the downside. But it sounds.
it's
Um,
beautiful.
yeah, I live. I live probably. I think so. I live somewhere between because some of these places
Right.
like where I live, it's kind of in a square. Malibu, um,
Hmm.
Calabasas, Westlake Village, in between that. If I go from my house to the beach, I can get there in about 12
Yeah, yeah,
minutes. And really nice to have it there. I infrequently go, but a lot of times I'll just drive down there
yeah.
and take a walk, right on the coast.
Hmm.
And there's Pepperdine. Have you ever heard of Pepperdine
Yeah,
University?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So Pepperdine is right in Malibu. The law school is at the high point on a hill overlooking the Pacific. So if you're in the law line, I didn't go there.
Right.
My where I work. Get
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
It's a nice place to go. But if you're sitting in the law library, you see the bay. It is like
Nice.
spectacular. And I believe I've assumed this. It's got to be the greatest view of
Oh,
any
I'm
law school
sure.
in the world. Like
Yeah,
wonderful, wonderful. It's it is nice living near the beach just
yeah,
to have it.
yeah. I mean, I've always been an
I
ocean
think
person. I
psychologically.
love the ocean.
Yeah. What else? Who's your favorite YouTuber?
My favorite YouTube? Well, it's got to be you, Richard, because I only know a handful of them, and I don't really watch them anymore because, well, I mean, at the time, well, let me backtrack. So, I didn't really watch any YouTubers until MMTLP. And I got into MMTLP because I saw a very long, well written post on Reddit, and the post took me to roller pigeons, and it was like, look, watch these YouTube videos of roller pigeons. Look,
Can I stop
and I
1 second? I'm going to stop. One second. Wes Christian is hiding behind JR in answer to your question. Go ahead. Go ahead.
so the post basically said, watch this individual roller pigeons on YouTube, and I'm going to quote the post because it said something like, pay no attention to the bird suit. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so I watched all of Roller Pigeon's videos, and there was one video that connected Roller Pigeons to Tony Twits, and so I watched all of Tony Twits videos, and then there was one video that connected to Smokies, and so I basically watched all those videos. That was my first experience with YouTube. And here I am 6 months later, right?
Yeah.
Hold on one second, Richard.
Okay.
That's fine. Yep. See, had to do a little bit of parenting. So
No
so
problem.
so
'Cause I was
yeah,
going to
that's
ask
that was
like
it. I didn't
I was going
watch
to ask
any.
you a really tough
Go ahead.
question. I was going to ask you a very difficult question.
Ask
You
away.
can refrain from answering it if you so choose. Besides Busy Brands, I think I saw his name. Who's your favorite MMTLP Spaces host?
Well, that's a tough question, and I'll tell you why. I mean, I'm typically on in the mornings with Junk Savvy, and I have a very good friendship with Junk Savvy. So I'd have to say it's Junk Savvy. But at the same time, Andrew's night spaces. Uh, I mean, I'll tell you, I've felt like shit a couple of times over the course of these, and I've gotten on Andrew's night spaces, and I get off those spaces, I'm like, we're gone. Jack Smitty's spaces, I will tell you, there for a while. Well, my kids are out of school now, and my routine was I take the kids to school, drop the kids to school, or drop them off at school, and then I'd log right onto Jack's space, which is usually about 7:15, 20 after. And there were times in the morning where I'd be like, this is dragging on, and I'll get off Jack's spaces, and I'm like loving life, because Dr. Edward and I have a great, and Dr. Edward and I have talked multiple times, but we have great back and forth banter and just hacking on people. And, Jack joins in and eggs us on, which is awesome because I live for that shit. So it's really all the combination of all three, because for me, each one of them serves a different purpose. When I get on Junk Savvy space, I mean, I'll take a mic and end up answer questions, but you know, I have a hell of a lot of fun on Jack spaces too. So yeah, I don't tend to get on Drew spaces too often because Drew spaces are usually in the evening or mid evening, and uh, yeah, you disappeared, Richard.
Did I?
Yeah. Uh, but
That's
Drew
interesting.
spaces tend to be in the evening or right around dinner time or in the evening, and by then I'm just burned out, and unless something specific is happening, I just don't go on them. So that's my answer. What's going on, Richard? Are you getting comments?
No.
Everyone bring something to the community. I am grateful to all. Crispy chicken. Thank you, Crispy Chicken. Richard brings a lot to the community. Uh, yeah. In fact, Richard, I think, was the second person in the community that I talked to on the phone. And now I feel like I'm just running this show by myself. It says we're still live. We got 60 people and 37 thumbs up. Did I lose you completely, Richard? Hello, JR. Hey, Rich Fizz. How are you, man? Rich, uh, Rich asked me a question because I lost Richard, and we're still live, and I don't know what the hell to say. Richard's fantastic. Someone else told you you're fantastic. There's Kimberly. Hey, Kimberly, how are you? You're killing it, JR. Keep it up, brother. Well, I got to tell you, I don't know if I'd be killing it, but we'll definitely fill the time. Yeah, I mean, we Richard and I have been talking about this for maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, doing a live. So yeah, Richard just called. Someone called him and his system crashed, but I mean, I'm getting comments, so apparently I'm still live here. Wait a minute, Jr. You look nothing like your avatar. Is that good or bad, Ali Vu? Is that good or bad? Very disheartening. I love how hard everybody is working. I can't even pay to get my car fixed. I'm bumming rides and I just lost you. Live broke. Just kidding. Cool, the community is here. Wonderful. Did Busy pump this out? That's not what was supposed to happen. There's only 63 people here. That's not the community. So I got to tell you, it's a little disconcerting that Richard left me here, because Richard has a tendency to do that in spaces sometimes too, where someone will ask a question and we're giving an answer, and then 3 or 4 people don't like the answer, and Richard bails on me. So let's hear a busy roast while he's here. A busy roast. I don't know what's a